The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, your station for fresh news, smart talk all day. It is Thursday, the 20th of February, 2025, and this is Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Newry. Now, C.A. busy. He in Long Island on Newry Beach. He building some little hotel. I mean, he building beds, definitely. You only say nothing about hotel. All we need is heads and beds. We can wake on the walls later. Because by the next rocket landing, we gonna be Long Island rich, buddy. That's a different type of rich. But I'd like to thank Mr. Newry for sending me these two gentlemen today to keep you all company. Ian Munnings, joining me from the first hour. Good morning again, sir.
Pleasure, good morning.
And Reverend Dr. Cleveland Eneas III, a.k.a. Anku Sarah.
Good morning, Namastu, which means I bow to the divinity within you. It's great to be here.
Namastu. Thank you. Listen now, so I've been on my Facebooks, on my social medias, and a theme has popped up far more frequently than is comfortable for me. It's like the universe is prompting me to have this conversation. And here's what it was. The first video was a young man, very articulate, right, presenting this position that the church, religion, has been particularly detrimental to black people, to individuals, to families, and to communities. And then he gave a list of ways, instances in which, right, we see this negative impact. One of which was the resources, the financial resources that that are extracted from black communities, individuals, and families, right, into churches that do not necessarily serve them holistically, right? And there were a number of other issues. Now, as soon as I heard that, I felt a vibe. I felt it because I remember I tell you all I was turning my life from Christ, and something said, no man, it didn't resonate with me. I felt like something was wrong. And then I remembered this phrase that Uncle Sarah used regularly, rel, sel, wep. And I remembered, even though I didn't remember what all the acronym stood for at the time, I knew that it was like the 9 spheres of life, right? That the Coptic Church, or that the culture within the Coptic Church recognized as important, these 9 spheres like of life, and that was the focus, right? And so I thought, is it that not religion in and of itself, but the location, right, in our communities, like the space that it occupies, that is the problem? And so I've asked Uncle Sarah here to come today and let me pester him with some questions, but I'm hoping we could have a conversation about the role that religion plays in our lives, and in the Bahamas, right? Are we hyper-religious? Is there an emptiness? Is it a facade? What is the space that religion occupies in Bahamian life, the individual, the family, the community, and has it been detrimental to us Africans, to us black people, and then to us Bahamians as a whole? See, I don't think it's a cut and dry answer.
The thing is this. When you start to talk about religion, right, we as a people have been introduced to an idea of religion that was literally beaten into us. Okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Literally beaten into us by our oppressors. All right? By the British, by the French, by Western European, by this dominant culture, right? Whereby the word religion itself, it means to tie fast or to bind fast. So you're being bound to something. They will talk about a monastic oath or some type of principle or conduct that you're binding yourself to, right? That in and of itself is not a bad thing. Where the crisis comes in is when we begin to understand what we as Africans in the diaspora are binding ourselves to. All right? If you look at the word attack, all right, oftentimes when we think of this word attack, we're thinking militaristic attack or some type of physical attack, or there could even be germ warfare attack. But etymologically, when you look at the word attack, it is the word attach. So you can be attacked by what is attached to you. If you are binding yourself to the principles of a dominant culture whose only purpose for us as African people has been to oppress and repress our potential, our abilities, and even our divinity. We have been in a position where we have had this dominant culture vamp down on who we are, indigenous people all over the planet, and they have told us that what they're giving us is religion. So in the scope of religion in the Bahamas, where we have the Catholics, we have the Anglicans, we have Baptists, we have Methodists, Jehovah's Witness, etc., etc. The question that the Holy Coptic Church of the Black Messiah is bringing to the forefront is, how does this allow us to remain in alignment with one of the 10 Commandments, which says that we are to honor our mothers and our fathers so that our days would be long in the land that was given to us? Mm-hmm. Are these religions the religions of our foreparents?
Right.
If we go down the list of Catholicism, Anglicanism, etc., we find that no, these are not the religions of our great ancestors. These are not the religions that we as a people actually bound ourselves to, or the principles, the rites, the rituals, the commandments, the laws that we bound ourselves to when we ruled ourselves. Mm-hmm. And that's key, because the message that the Messiah, this African Messiah, was teaching to the three groups of 12 royal tribes of Ishmael, Israel, and Midiani was that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. He was talking about building a kingdom of heaven on earth. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. He wasn't teaching us to go anywhere. He said that the meek shall inherit the earth. He was talking about lost sheep, this lost sheep of the house of Israel, this house of Judah, this remnant, those who were left actually respecting the laws and the commandments and the rights of the Most High Heavenly One, the great, as mentioned in Exodus 3, verses 14 and 15. So those who were respecting the laws and binding themselves to the actual rights and precepts of the Most High, they are referred to as the remnant. This word remnant is a word that ultimately means to be left, because in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, it says that the coming of the Son of Man, or the coming of this Messiah, cannot come unless there be a great falling away. And so this great falling away has everything to do with a dominant culture spreading their interpretation of religion, which works for them, but it definitely oppresses us. And so we understand, when you talk about Rel Sel Wep, that there's a great, he just transitioned maybe about 2 weeks, February 1st, he actually transitioned. We call him a Baba. He's one of our Coptic popes. He's Neely Fuller Jr. Neely Fuller Jr. Talked about these 9 areas of people activity. 9 areas of people activity. And if we don't rule ourselves in each of these areas of people activity, we will forever be oppressed. So religion, economics, labor, sex, gender, education, law, war security, entertainment, and politics. These 9 areas of people activity is what Rel Sel Wep is talking about. Now, our Coptic Pope, our head priest, Rev. Dr. A.J. Varma, he was introduced to the term Rel Sel Wep by one of our other great leaders in the African community, Kaba Kamani, or Booker T. Coleman. He was on the Hidden Colors DVDs a few years ago, right? But Neely Fuller, he just listed them in alphabetical order. Booker T. Coleman gave it as Rel Sel Wep. And then the Rev. Dr. A.J. Varma, he recognized it in the language. The word Rasala in Arabic means message. So this is a universal message given to us by our great ancestors to say to us that the way that they attacked us, the order that Rel Sel Wep is given in, is exactly the way they attacked us. Right? And it is therefore exactly the way that we must approach liberating ourselves in order to once again have our own religion serve us.
Right, because I was gonna ask, religion is the first one.
It
And
is, yes.
does that indicate an importance?
Yes.
Or were they regarded as equally important? But I see now you're telling me that there is a significance to how they are prioritized, because this is like the order in which they attacked us.
Yeah, it was the
Right?
order that they attacked
So
us.
here's another question.
Yeah.
With the framing of, is religion the problem? Is it not? Is it that religion isn't the problem, but it's how we relate religion to everything else? See, because here the thing I thought about almost immediately after having that thought was, yeah, because we Sunday Christians, we got songs about it.
Yeah.
Some of our best songs are about it, right? Like we have a perfect practice of Christianity when we in the church.
Right.
And then as soon as we walk outside those doors and to our cars that are parked on the sidewalks right next to the pedestrian crossing, we forget
Right.
what we was just talking about inside the church.
Yeah.
I think what I heard Mr. Haney said was the word attack and the word attach. So they are entwined in one thing. So in one instance, it's like you're speaking about a people who practices a good life on a Sunday or a Saturday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, they do something totally different.
Right. And I was thinking, like when you said that just now, right? Like I was thinking about, I used to listen to gangster rap. I used to drive a stick shift. I used to listen to gangster rap. And then I realized that I can't be listening to this gangster rap. I had to stop while I was driving. Like while I had my hand on the stick shift, I could not be listening to no Tupac, right? And so I thought, like, is it this uncle? Like I am of the world, and I come into my pastor and I can say, baby, you running on. I is listen to hip hop, but I ain't into this rap life. I just listen to it. So when you talk about attacked and attached, right? That's what I thought was, I think I could protect myself from the attack. But that it's attached to me already means I don't understand how I have been attacked.
Right. And you don't understand your identity. See, your identity gives you purpose. Your identity gives you the principles or the rule of conduct that are attached to your identity. Right. So if we as a people are taking on the principles of a criminalized enterprise. See this whole idea of the doctrine of discovery, this whole idea of manifest destiny. This was something that was brought about by the dominant culture's religion. You understand? This was a political religion that said if you weren't Christian like we were Christian, then you could be subject to slavery. Pope Nicholas V, brought forth the papal bull that said you can go and subject these non-Christians, these beasts, to slavery because they're not Christians like us. And if we didn't decide to accept Christianity on their understanding or terms of Christianity, then we were enslaved. And then even after we became Christians like them, they still enslaved us.
So,
All right.
so will the enslavement idea become different from the freement aspect of the enslavement?
What do you mean? Explain.
Simple. With the enslaved mentality, we attach a lot of things in our minds and our body. You know, it transcends to what we portray in reality. And the freement aspect of it is that I'm not attached to something. I'm liberated from that which enslaved me.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said it, because freedom is in our ancient ways, to be free didn't mean that you weren't attached. It meant that you were attached to the correct thing. It meant that you were attached to the law. It meant that you were attached to ma'at, this universal law and balancement of deeds. The universal laws is what you were attached to. And that gave you the ability to be liberated, as each species is allowed to be liberated within the laws that governs them. If you step outside of the laws that govern you, then you are eliminated or you can become extinct.
So is that theory from another perspective? There are some people that theorize, right, that there's a layer of the atmosphere called the ionosphere.
Correct.
And some people theorize that each species on the planet has this sort of magical way of connecting to their layer of the ionosphere. And these people say, that's how ants know how to ant. That's where you see the ants, and these ants just, why every ant, they nod to each other. One go, they maybe nod to the left, nod to the right. That's a signal. They talking to each other. Like, how do ants know how to ant, right? So
Right.
the idea is that there's a layer of the ionosphere that holds the critical information for your identity as a species.
Well, what it is, what we teach and what we learn in the Holy Coptic Church is that the Most High Heavenly One, the great I Am, right, places a portion of itself in each of us. So there's a portion of divinity in the ant. There's a portion of divinity in the plant. There's a portion of divinity in each group of people. And that portion of divinity
is
what allows for us, if we are willing and obedient, if we
To connect to it.
if you embrace the divinity
Right.
within you, that allows for you to be at one with it and thereby the universal law.
Caller, I sorry. Keep calling back. I could get you the next time. I want to take us to entertainment.
Sure.
I grew up with TV from I was in second grade, right? And I can tell you ain't nothing wrong with the TV because I finished the primary school reading list in the middle of fifth grade,
You used it constructively.
right? I had TV on all the time.
Right.
But now as an adult, I'm 48, I loving it, right? I could say, yeah, man, we have not been sufficiently critical with our consumption and absorption of media and entertainment. I want to use two quick examples, and I want you all to tell me if it making sense. The first one is this. I feel like gang culture has permeated almost every sector, every sphere of people life, right? Of people everywhere. The church, John Canoe, governance, families, the school, how we interact with young people, right? But the question for me is, how did it get there? And then I remembered watching Scarface and wondering what these Biden was so excited about, right? And then I realized it ain't just Scarface. It started from before then. It started with the good, the bad, and the ugly, with the Western, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Godfather, Scarface, Heat,
Or you're going to class
Shotters.
Yeah.
You see what you said just now?
Classics.
Classics.
Going into the town.
Yeah.
Belly, right?
Oh, classics.
Goodfellas.
Right.
And I realized that whether people are conscious of it or not, particularly men, particularly black men, particularly men who have been searching for sense of empowerment, like what it means to be a powerful man, that their ideas around masculinity and masculine power, many of them have been absorbed from these movies.
Organized crime.
You ask a black man in the Bahamas what your favorite movie is or was when you growing up, and it could be
One of them.
One of them or a similar, because Good, Bad, and the Ugly is a series, right?
One of them.
As
yeah.
one of them.
Godfather, Goodfellas. Yeah.
Here's the next thing, right? Entertainment as well. See, Taylor
But
Swift.
let me just say
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Yes, sir.
Because the reason why that is, in part, because it's not just one absolute reason, right?
Yeah.
Is because you live in a society, you live in a culture that benefits off of you not knowing who you are. Knowledge of self and kind is not a educational prerequisite. It's coming on stream. We have some things coming soon with regard to the history curriculum that's helping to change that, right? However, when we look at the scope of education, religion, etc., our ability to know who we are is not at the forefront of any of those things. So we have to pick up whatever they throw in front of us.
Absolutely. I got you now, caller. I got you now. Good morning. Welcome to Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Newry.
Morning, Ms. Green. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How you do?
Right. Good morning, Brother Cohen. Good morning to the other guest. I didn't get his name.
Ian Munnings.
But I'm not the caller who's trying to call. It's my first time. Driving,
Okay.
So I mean, I guess, but Ms. Green,
Morning,
when
brother.
you was talking about this, I think like violence on TV and different things started earlier than some of us really even think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought about it before. I used to watch little children. And, you know, when they can barely walk and then they walk around, they'll take something, they'll hit someone with it.
Mm-hmm.
Just watch cartoon, you know. You ever watch Bugs Bunny?
Buddy, let me tell you something. Hold on, pause. I don't think you know who you're talking to. If y'all had a competition, I bet you I may win who has absorbed the most media and unnecessary media. I done watch it all. I is Americanized, buddy. I grew up on them thing. I know what you mean.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, I mean, you know, even though we sit down and we watch it, and it's funny to us, a child watching these characters on cartoons licking each other over the head and doing all type things. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And I mean that's basically the whole theme of the majority of the morning cartoons, except for like you know the Super Friends and whatever other kind of things like that, right? But the Looney Tunes, I mean those type things. I mean because I used to watch little children just pick up things sometime and just whack people over the face.
And
I know these little children have never been abused before.
Hold on. And
But
guess
you
what?
really learn that-
Hold on. They call it Looney Tunes.
Yes, Mom.
I remember watching cartoons with my dad. His favorite was Count Dracula. He liked the Count,
The count.
right? And that may be why I have an affinity for numbers. Anything named the Count, he did like that, right?
And yeah, I'm listening.
But I'm saying, I remember like my father at one point saying, like, you ain't gonna do that, right? Like we don't.
But it goes back even further than the Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes came out in the 1930s.
Thank you, caller.
If you go back to
Oh,
ni-
well, I mean, I
if
want
you
to
go
say
back to
something like that.
1915,
All right, hold on then.
they had what was called the birth of a nation, where the propaganda of black men being criminalized began, where they were showing this movie Birth of a Nation, even in the White House at the time, to create the persona of black men being these vicious criminals.
So that's the narrative that they printed.
This was deliberately done before Looney Tunes. I agree with the caller, you know, that's a part of it, but their propaganda was very deliberate. And if you do the research, and then they had about 2016, they had another Birth of a Nation where they flipped it, where they showed that the white man and his dominant culture was really the aggressor,
Oppressors.
the
Right.
oppressors. Yeah.
Caller?
Yes, I mean, but you know, television has spread a lot of propaganda, especially how we view Africa and different things. like that,
Yes.
too. But just let me sum up by saying this, please, quickly. All these discussions that we be having about religion and different things like that, right? I think we ignore one of the greatest principles or factors of religion, or that the Bible talks about, which is truth. You know what I mean? We need to love the truth. You know what I mean? We need to figure out the truth. That's all we need to do, you know.
Well-
We need to love and be biased, and as long as we get into a truth debate, right, where we can prove things, right, then we can begin to eliminate things in society that are not true. You know what I mean? Especially things that people say are true, that cause something else that is true to be looked at in a negative light or whatever. You know, something like you know what I mean, like a lie living as the truth when the truth is being despised because the lie living as the truth.
Yeah.
We need listen. All we need to do as a people, man, is let's start to live objectively. All right, we need to get to the truth. All right, and
Like-
if we And if we just if we just do that, we'll be all right. All right. Let's start to have some truth conversations.
Thank you.
Where we
Let me
improve
respond.
certain things in society that people say and do that are not true, man. We need to get falseality out of the society. And thank you. Good show. Y'all have a good day.
Yes,
All
my
right,
brother.
thank you.
The book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 142 says, "Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth." When we talking about these laws, these universal laws, we're talking about the truth.
Yeah.
We're not talking about facts as is interpreted by society. We're talking about universal law. We're talking about ma'at, which scripture calls the truth. That is what the Messiah was saying. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free in John 8:32.
Holding the laws.
Yes, because you are a child of nature.
All right. I wanted to stick on entertainment just for another second. Here's a thing that I saw, and I wondered if other people see it, right? So I was having a conversation with some young people. One of these young people is 22, and he don't really know who Beyonce is.
Wow.
I was like, okay, wow, what a fascinating space to be in. And I was trying to share with him, like I was talking about that video, Perry Como, Kayla Lockhart Edwards, and I was trying to share with him, like at the age of 48, I grew up in an era where Perry Como was on the TV or on the radio as much as Michael Jackson, right? And so the way we do entertainment now is completely different from 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And here's what I found interesting, and I wondered if people understand the way that their entertainment is being controlled, and how the way that they think about entertainment is shaped by forces outside of them. So I realized that in the sphere of music, mainstream music, musical world, for women, they have a Highlander approach. There could only be one. There could only be one female superstar, right? And so we saw this sort of tussle between Beyonce and Taylor Swift over the last couple of years, right? And then I say to myself, what is happening here? Because Layla Hathaway has to be the most talented female vocalist in the Western Hemisphere. I can't claim the whole world, but in the Western Hemisphere. I listened to Layla Hathaway sing 3 chords at the same time in a live concert, not even like in a studio recording, in a live concert, right? And I was like, the musicians stopped playing.
Right.
The whole audience was like, do you all understand what's happening right now?
Right.
But these young people out here really think that Beyonce and Taylor Swift are fighting for the most talented female vocalist of the universe.
Based on the theatrics.
And how the conversation has been framed before it gets to us.
Yeah, but what we don't understand is that Beyonce, I'm not saying she is deliberately doing it, but she's definitely being used to bring forth an entity called Sasha Fierce. That she mentions, this Sasha Fierce, and who this Sasha
Ferris is.
Yeah.
And if you understand that it's minor children that are driving these sales, these platinum sales, right? That's why the most urbanist of hip-hop rap gangsters still still their records are being bought by young white children.
The question, who was Sasha Ferris?
So the word itself, they'll say a defender, a helper of mankind, but who is mankind? See, when they say mankind, they're talking about a kind of man. They're talking about the grafted individuals who control the industry. They're not talking about the original indigenous people of the planet. So she brings forth an image that emulates the grafted beings. Those beings in Leviticus 13 and 14, melanin recessive, blonde or yellow hair, that's the image that she projects and causes now for another generation to strive after a bleached image. That's her purpose.
And you're telling us what the word Sasha, what the name Sasha means.
Yes, that's one of the meanings of this word Sasha.
That's powerful.
Yeah. So we have to understand that entertainment has been weaponized. That's one of the ways they weaponized it. Now we, as a people, have the same opportunity if we, and this is why I was so sad when Kobe Bryant, when he died. I was really excited to see what he was going to do after basketball, because he was going into that world of entertainment. I see LeBron James has entered into that world of entertainment. Jay-Z is in that world of entertainment. And they're bringing forth certain images and certain stories that help us to reshape our identity as a people. But you can't put it all on them. I'm not saying Beyonce is a bad person. Nobody don't Beehive.
Right,
Don't
like-
come for me, Beehive.
Just
right?
like our
But-
earlier conversation, but just like our earlier,
Yeah, I know, right?
like the earlier conversation, we don't want to denigrate people. We want to examine the systems and structures and cultures that cause them to be in the place they are, doing the things they do.
If there's anything that I would admit to attacking, it's the programming. You understand? This reality of us being programmed by entertainment, right? Whereby it now causes the mind to move in a certain direction, and wherever the mind goes, the body follows.
Right.
And so if racism, white supremacy, which is what Neely Fuller, he wrote a book, A Counter Code to Racism, right? For victims of racism, white supremacy. When he examined Rel Cell Webb, he was doing it in such a way that allowed for us as victims of racism, white supremacy. And again, when we say racism, white supremacy, we're not just talking about white people, right? These are institutions that have been put in place that are now run by people of all colors, of all genders, of all orientations, right? So we have to understand that after we would have gone through the Ma'afa or chattel slavery, nobody was locked up for that.
No.
Nobody was criminalized for that. These people just reshaped their identity. They morphed now into the moral majority.
I mean,
In industries.
in industries.
It's only, I think it's only in this decade, the 2020s, that the U.S. has gotten serious about criminalizing lynchings. I mean, and
right. They to put on the books.
Yeah,
Let's say
to put
that
on-
way.
right, to put it on the
Put
books.
on the books. Slavery proper ended in Mississippi, I think, in 2012, 2013.
2012.
On the books.
yeah.
Right. So we got to be aware of what is up, what we're up against, and we have to appreciate that we're under attack. But if you keep thinking an attack is only military, you don't understand what they're attaching to us. So I hear y'all talking about SpaceX, right? That's something that they attach to us.
Definitely.
Right? We have images of people with tattooed arms and tattooed faces, and now guess what we doing? We tattooing our arms and tattooing our faces.
But,
And-
but the same slaves were tattooed to say identify
To brand them.
to brand them, to identify
Right.
them.
Now we have
Let's say
brands.
who the slave owner was.
Right.
And then,
This
and,
is our plantation.
and then we
Right.
kind of perpetuated, now that we can access the information, we don't acknowledge that, hey, some tribes have tattoos for specific spiritual and religious purposes.
Reasons, yeah.
So what does it mean that you, an African, are putting a Polynesian
Or putting some Chinese letters which you don't even know what it mean.
right on your body,
But they said it mean.
and you don't understand the practice of putting it on your body. Why a Chinese person would put this on their body? What's the reason? What does it mean? And what they supposed to do next?
They're attaching themselves to their culture. You're attaching yourself to their culture.
Right.
So it's like
you will only be a slave to them.
like in the U.S. They still have Confederate flags that are still being flown.
Oh, definitely.
in the U.S.
So look here. I'm looking at the 9. We got religion, economics, labor, sex, gender, education, law, war, security, entertainment, politics.
And the most important one, finances.
That's economics, yeah. So,
that's the most important
your
one.
religion controls your economics. Your religion says how you dress. Your religion says what you eat. Your religion says when a holiday is. Your religion says when stores will close, when stores will open. Your religion controls that. So if someone controls your religion, they automatically control your economics.
All right, stick a pin there. Cause it's a great point. Let's go to the caller. Good morning, caller.
Good afternoon, Aaron.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Uncle Sarah.
Hey, good morning.
007 here.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Yes, there was something you mentioned, Uncle Sarah, and it's about that SpaceX program. I just want to touch on it a little bit, but it's going to really tie into what I want to say. Because I listened to the show yesterday, and I noticed they didn't really have any call in. They didn't allow anyone to call in and express their concerns. It seems it was edited callers, and it's my opinion of the shows that I listened to. So I'm
Which
gonna say
show?
this.
Which show, sir? The show that I did.
The show that comes on after yours, Aaron, and
Oh,
what's his
the
name?
foundation. Okay, no problem, no
Yeah.
problem, no problem.
You know,
Let's be easy.
some people are just so scripted. You
Oh,
understand?
yeah, but let's be easy. I got you.
A
Be
particular
easy.
body. But I'd like to say this:
Be easy.
what people are not saying. While we are so interested in this, what they call space tourism, everything has a good and a bad to it. Yes, it's good for tourism. What is it good for? What's the bad part of it that we're not looking at? Well, we're looking at the what how do they deal with the waste that comes from these rocket fuel? Are they what they call toxic waste? Where are they dumping this stuff? Are they carrying it out of the Bahamas? Are they putting it in the blue hole or something? You know, is it affecting our atmosphere in our lovely Bahamas? Things like that is what I would want to touch on and find out. While everybody is in amazement, look up in the sky, like the Lord Christ said. Why do you marvel at such things when these things actually displease the Most High? You know, that like the people in the beginning, they wanted to go into the heavens where God is. According to Isaiah 14:14, Satan said he will rise above the heights of the clouds and he would be like the Most High. So that's why the people in ancient Babylon were building the tower to go into the heavens. And here we have it. I don't know who these guys are, but they seem to align themselves a long time ago with things like what we call the motto in our Bahamas. The Bahamas been a SpaceX program the whole time, because when you look at our motto, it says forward, upward, onward, together. Forward in which direction? In an upward direction. Here is your SpaceX, ready and laid out many years ago. Okay, we're a part of it.
I was just going to go back to 2019, but I feel you.
Okay, so you know, these things were laid beforehand, and here it is today. It's no surprise to me what they're doing, but I'm going to tell you, lives going to be at stake, health is going to be at stake. There is a known video that's circulating during the pandemic and even before that, where Bahamas is being tested on with aerial viruses. Nobody says nothing, and everybody in the government has signed off it. They know what's going on, and they're being paid for it at the people's expense. You know, when
sir,
government
pause,
doesn't
sir.
care
Sir,
what's happening
sir,
to the people. Go ahead.
sir. Let's
Can
hold
I-
on. No, you can't finish. I mean, hold on. You can't finish. Pause for a second. We cannot say that people have been paid, right? Like, let me tell you what I know. What I know is that Peter Maynard Sr. was protesting the dumping of toxins in the waters in and around the Bahamas in the 40s and the 50s. I know that. You can't say that people getting paid to do things, right? Let's be
can we
careful.
say that they allowed, they sanctioned what is happening in the skies above the people to be test dummies.
Let's say it like this. Let's say it like this. Let me say it like this. If you read the article in today's Tribune, and these are the words you read, Dr. Rihanna Neely Murphy, director of the Department of Environmental Planning and Protection, later told the Tribune that the document is expected to be posted once several administrative issues are resolved, possibly within a day, then you would understand that it's not unreasonable to question how is it that we have arrived at this circumstance. Okay? But we cannot say that people are being paid to allow this to happen. Now, that's not discounting the fact that we've read in the article that the Bahamas is supposed to possibly get $100,000 per rocket landing. That's not the type of payment you mean. So let's be
So, Aaron,
responsible.
if I can politely interrupt,
Yeah.
how much were we being paid when they were doing this sky experiment of dusting chemical things on?
So you're talking
on the people?
talking about chemtrails, right? And I am aware of chemtrails. I'm aware of
How
it.
much were we being paid? At the
Sir,
time?
you have not even proven to me that there's been an official, like a chemtrail program. See, these are things that you and I could talk about off the radio, but on the radio, this
Yes.
platform requires a different level of proof for the allegations made. I'm not saying that I don't think these things are worthy of interrogation. I'm saying we cannot interrogate them in this way on this show, on this platform.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying,
For
sir.
the sake of the URCA, yes, I understand that.
For the
part,
sake
but
of my underemployed self, sir.
yes, I will not
Thank you.
infraction upon you
But-
and
but
the,
I wa-
knowledgeable Uncle Sarah in such manner. But I do respect people who would ask questions and talk about things that the general public seem to been burying their head in the sand about.
Thank you, sir. And all week I've been talking about the first hour of the show was basically that even though my entire show was supposed to be about the 491 retirees who coming back to work, and I can be 49 next year, and when I get my first government job in 2 weeks, they can say, Miss Green, you ain't ready for retirement yet. That's right. Like, so I've been talking about it all week. I push conversations aside to talk about it. There are people who are talking about it, but that does not discount one of the points that you're making, that there's obviously also a movement to shut down the conversation. Very polite, very genteel, very demure,
Yeah.
very mindful, but it's very, very real.
But I'll say this, right? And I appreciate the caller's position on the matter. Definitely, I agree that we have to question these things, right? Scripturally, however, what I want us to be aware of, and I know we've heard it before, but do we understand? In Revelation chapter 18, verse 4, it says, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, 'Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.'" Scripture is not asking for us to change the people who poisoning us. Scripture is not asking us to change the people that know that they have the power to ultimately throw on us whatever they want to throw on us. Scripture is saying, my people, get out of the way, right? This is what Rel Selweb is talking about. Control your own religion, economics, labor, etc., etc. Put yourself in a position to be able to have the ability to get out of the way. There are safe spots on the planet. There are places where we need to build and be able to not have to worry about a rocket landing on top of us, right? I understand, and I'm always careful when I talk about the leaders of our country, because leading a country is not easy. It's a difficult thing. I've never done it. I've never sat in those seats, so I'm careful about how I criticize them, right? I understand enough to know that they're up for re-election soon, and they want to be able to point at some things that they've done, right?
Here's another thing, and it's going to transition to the next point.
Yeah.
I also understand that our leaders are facing the same pressures that our ancestors' leaders were facing as well. Don't think that things have changed. Don't think that our leaders are not being put between a rock and a hard place every day by supranational
And
institutions.
these are leaders who did not even swear an oath to us as a people.
No, that is my cousin, but he is not me.
So the reality is they're not serving us. That's not their role.
So here's the okay, caller. I come into you right now. Let me get the question out before I forget. Right, especially with SpaceX, the laws exist. The truth is, it was back then. It is now. How are we then, if we are within this the principles of the Coptic Church, to reconcile with this new technology? So when we get back from this caller.
Yeah.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Aaron, and to Uncle Sarah and your other guests. Just a quick question.
Good morning.
Uncle made a point concerning about getting out of, and rather than trying to change the people. I think a powerful statement that we ignore and the church ignore is the command, occupy until I come. And the occupy is business, is
just
these
help
different
us.
sources.
Where is that in scripture? You have the verse?
I don't know the exact scripture, but
I'll look
it
for it.
actually
Go ahead.
aligns with the talents, where you give talents and give certain business things, whatever. So the problem is we have to look at the concept of occupying. Occupying means to possess, to control, and everything else. And so the problem is that we've been trying to rather than owning and controlling our environment, our communities, and our space. And so, what does a nation does when they go in and occupy the area? They change the culture. When they came, they make English the language, behavior, this, that, everything. That's why we still drink tea, and want to wear fancy dress in the gardens when we really don't know what it is. It's just a culture that's been indoctrinated on us.
The problem is, just quickly, we don't recognize when that which is coming has come. We're still waiting. We're still waiting for a consciousness that has arrived to come.
I know.
We continue. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Let me say, you could expand it, because this is why I said people all the time. It says the kingdom wasn't come, and he says it's within you. Mm-hmm. And so where am I? I'm here already. And so it's just a matter of changing the presence of the kingdom as above, so shall below. It's changing it here. But the thing about it, you can't change. He says you can't manage what you cannot measure, and you cannot measure what you refuse to acknowledge. Thanks.
Thank you, C. Allen. I was at an event. I upset everybody. I listen. You cannot upset Leslie Miller, but I upset him, right?
The pot cake.
Yeah, man. At a talk, it's like about nation building, but the host, the facilitators, the conversation is rooted from a fundamentalist Christian religious perspective, right? Cool. I was a bit frustrated with that. Not that they can't hold a national conversation, but I was frustrated with the interpretation of scripture and application to the modern world, right?
It's a Greco-Roman interpretation.
So these by them in the room, and that's probably why I upset them, because I talked about these by them. We're in the room talking about waiting on the Joshua generation. The Joshua generation. A young man, younger than me, got up in the audience and started talking, but he had a slight speech impediment. And so I could see that people in the audience became frustrated. They became so frustrated that they made it obvious to him that they was tired of listening to him. Guess what the boy name was? Joshua.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making,
yes, sir.
right? We ignored Marcus Garvey.
Mm-hmm.
We ignored Elijah Muhammad. We ignored Malcolm X. We ignored Martin Luther King.
Diop.
We ignored Diop. We may praise them now, but when they were here, they were ignored. Mm-hmm. So we talk about, in the instance of the last caller, occupying until I arrive. How many iterations of this crest consciousness is going to arrive before we decide to get up and actually listen and obey what they were telling us to do? They were saying, Marcus Garvey was saying, Africa for the Africans.
Yeah, Europe for the people who
Europe
call
for the
it
Europeans, right? So all we're saying is that we have to now, once again, bind ourselves, if we're going to use this word, religion, to our true religious identity once again. Right. In order for us to understand how to get out of the way so that nature, because you can't fight the devil. The devil?
Yeah, that don't make no sense.
The one that fought in heaven, that ain't who our ancestors can utilize us to fight the devil. Our ancestors are the one fighting the devil. Mm-hmm. You understand?
Okay.
We have to merge and become one with the divinity within us so that we have the opportunity to be used as tools of the Most High and bring this heaven on earth that is within, through, and around us.
All right. To my question before.
Yep.
Here we are, it's 2025, we reconciling with SpaceX. Rockets in the sky now. Sonic booms, right? So I remember when the SST, supersonic, transatlantic, the jet, could travel across the Atlantic in 1 hour.
Concorde.
The Concorde, what it was going to be like, the sound, the sonic boom. Given the 9 spheres of people activity, given the rules of the Coptic Church of the caressed life, right? Following the caress. How do we then take those rules from back then? How are we applying them today? So how am I within the Coptic Church reconciling with SpaceX, with rocket launches and landings in the space that I work in now? And where would that fall in the 9 areas of people activity? Is it education, law and war security? Is there an intersection? And like the Jewish communities, we hear was Benjamin is the tribe of war. There's one tribe that's responsible for war and defense.
Yeah,
There's
they
one,
have their interpretation, yeah.
Right. In the Coptic Church, in this culture, in this life, is it the same?
So let's be clear. When we talk about Real Cell Web, these 9 levels of people activity are intertwined.
Okay.
Yes, there's a hierarchy. Yes, there's prioritization depending on what it is you're talking about, right? But we have to learn how to do for ourselves what others have done or are doing for themselves. SpaceX is something that we should know about, that we should calculate, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a part of our formula.
Okay.
You understand? We must understand how it affects us. We must understand how to come out of the systems that we don't control and learn to build our own.
All right. Absolutely. We're going to go to a break. When we get back from the break, I got a couple of little notes here to share with you. And this is fascinating. Because, again, we're answering the question. Because religion in and of itself can't be detrimental
We
to
got to talk
black
about
people.
true religion.
There you go. You're listening to Guardian Radio AM with CA Newry. We'll be right back.
And have a seat, please. They'll call you in for your x-ray shortly.
That's why they call it a waiting room. You won't have that problem at Fourth Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor. We never schedule multiple appointments, so you'll be in and out in no time. And if your initial screening reveals a concern, our radiologist can conduct an alternative screening right then and there. Call 328-8157 to schedule an appointment at Fourth Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor today.
It's the lottery of love at Everybody Wins.
I love you.
Everybody Wins is giving away over $100,000 in cash prizes in the Lottery of Love.
I love you.
All February long, every $20 spent, you'll receive a raffle ticket. The more you spend, the more chances to win. And you could be among the 30 winners randomly selected on February 28th to win $10, $20, or even $30,000.
I love you.
It's the Lottery of Love at Everybody Wins. Remember to game responsibly and get ready to win.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
You try to rest, roll with the best. For all your printing needs, there ain't no one better, no. For posters and banners, magazines and flyers, for window decals, greeting cards and newsletters. No job too big and there's no job too small. You name it, we can print it. Just give us a call. Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
Good morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio AM with CA Newry. We are about to end the show. Have you had all this Bible talk? It was a great conversation.
Yeah.
I call it enlightenment.
Yeah.
Because
and we say endarkenment within the Holy Coptic Church. This true light that shineth in every man and woman that cometh into the world is this black light. John chapter 1 talks about this light, and that light is what brings forth the intelligence and the will to do that which the Most High.
So similar to a baby's birth in a dark
That's
space.
right. The conception and then ultimately the birth coming out of that dark womb. Yes.
now, gentlemen, just in case I forgot, I with all this talk, I ready to end the show.
Go ahead.
Collect Victory Fest couldn't come fast enough. Listen, join us Saturday, March 1st at Smuggler's Square for an epic celebration of the 2024 Boxing Day and 2025 New Year's Day Junkanoo winners, the Saxon Superstars. The Junkanoo season may be over, but the celebration is just getting started. We're going to have music by Playhouse DJs, Little Giant and DJ Tankin performing live. Fan Sean and D-Mac. D-Mac going to have a new song for us about going into space or catching a ride.
KB got one now, right?
Yeah, deep space. That's how I know the small roaches is already on the moon.
I only want to know if they get the collectibles and if they having salsa, they having mommy's Johnny Cake.
But D, you better be there. I bring the sauce, you bring the Johnny Cake, and Collect, you bring the Juju Rattlers. Please and thank you. Well, Uncle, I hope to continue this conversation. Let's end the show with this last text. Hello, Aaron. The Bible is the only book in the world that is based on interpretation. An engineer's drawing is interpreted as there's no deviation. You can't change what is there. It's only one way to interpret. The Bible is very confusing and should not be used as it is being used. Texter, as we close the show, I'm going to say something that blows your mind. What if there is a singular way to interpret the Bible and we just don't know it because we haven't been taught it for a particular and specific
What if you
reason?
never read the Bible because you didn't read it in the original language?
This is what I'm saying. Life is fascinating. Let's keep living it and let's keep loving each other.
This is powerful.
Have a great day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.